sim racers from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beast wheel to wheel around the hallowed grounds. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet. Perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of the early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series, presented by Sim Experience, starts now.
Sage Karam has been on a roll. In his first 6 starts of the 2021 Lionheart Retro Series campaign, he has taken the checker flag in 5 of them. It has been tough to stop the NTT IndyCar Series driver. That brings us to a track that he dominated at in this series last year, and one he raced from the back to the front at in the rear world just a month ago. It's a track where the prestige of the race can help change the fortunes of drivers. It can make or break a competitor's legacy. This is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and this is the 5th annual ButtKicker Indy 250. Welcome to RaceSpotTV's continued coverage of the Lionheart Retro Series, presented by Sim Experience. My name is Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Ewan O'Leary. Arjuna Kankipati is in the producer's seat for tonight's action. TV cameras are provided by Istvan Balu at track20cams22.com. Live timing and scoring is available through RaceSpotTV/timing2 with additional in-car cameras designed by RaceSpot's own Tyler Maxson. Let's dive into our HyperX pre-race show, as the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of the premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com, and don't forget to use the promo code LionHRT15 for 15% off orders. It's our second Triple Crown of the season, Ewan, as we get ready to go racing at one of the most prestigious racetracks in all of the land, Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, absolutely. Arguably the biggest of the Triple Crown races as well. It's an absolutely massive race here tonight. Everybody's going to want to win. And we might even see a 5th different winner in 5 editions of this race. It's been so unpredictable in recent years that it's just impossible to know who's going to come out on top. So yeah, I'm massively looking forward to it, and massively looking forward to the rest of the season as well, because we've got a lot of ovals coming up, I've noticed. So I mean, we've got Sonoma in a couple of weeks' time after this, but then we have to wait all the way to the end of October for another road course. So yeah, a lot of ovals coming up, starting with Indianapolis today. And yeah, I'm very much excited for it because of its unpredictability it's shown in recent years, and its tendency to have photo finishes as well.
Absolutely, it's going to be intriguing tonight, especially with how things could play out. Let's take a look at our driver standings, meanwhile, presented by Sim Experience, where Sage Karam leads the point standings entering tonight over Mike Rasmus, Chris Reagan, Matt Taylor, the rookie, and Aaron Morgan, who's been in a charge, rounding out the top 5. It's been very competitive so far in the driver standings, fairly bunched up heading into our second Triple Crown.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it's going to be very bunched up after this as well, because Sage Karam, we believe anyway, is not going to be taking the start here today, unfortunately. So there's going to be a lot of gaining going on from those behind. But if there's one race to miss, really, then this might be your one, really. I know it's the kind of it's one of the Triple Crown events, and you're going to want to be there for it, but it's so unpredictable and it's so difficult to score good points around here that it might actually work out all right for Karam in the end, and he might end up still taking away the championship lead from this race, despite the fact he's not going to even have turned a wheel.
It's going to be intriguing to see how things play out after tonight's Triple Crown race. Keep in mind, as we take a look at your rookie standings presented by ButtKicker, as mentioned, Matt Taylor having a strong season for Avatar Auto Racing, 291 points. Alex Gouillon, Jean-Francois, Michael O'Brien, and David Sirwell rounding out the top 5 in the standings entering today. Some good runs as well shown from drivers like factory backs Nick DeGroot so far this season, Ewan?
Yeah, there's been a lot of good rookie seasons, but as you mentioned, Matt Taylor has been clearly having the standout rookie season of everybody. He's nearly over 60 points ahead in that standing, and he's just had a phenomenal rookie season, and we'll see if it can continue in his first ever Indy 250 here in the Lionheart Retro Series here tonight.
18 rookies are in the field tonight, and many of them are part of some of your top teams in the team standings presented by HyperX. Avatar Auto Racing enters tonight with the team standings lead with 781 points. The Void Motorsport with 630 points. Elite West Motorsports, Graphics LC Motorsports rounding out the top four. And don't forget about Raven Motorsports Silver, with that being led in part by Karam on the black side. AeroX Racing in between them as well in those team standings, which have been very tight so far, but that brings us into our series details, presented by Minus 273, the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or sim racer, Minus 273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on Minus 273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit minus273.biz. And don't forget to also use Minus 273 LHRS15 for 15% off orders. As tonight, we see custom fixed setups in the Lotus 79s, which means it's going to be intriguing to see how things play out for our drivers tonight.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's going to make things very, very unpredictable indeed. It's going to make things very, very close indeed as well here tonight. Very much looking forward to it. We've never had a repeat winner or a repeat pole sister around here in the 5 seasons that we've been running this event. And the stakes are going to be very, very high indeed. Obviously, that Triple Crown standing is also up for grabs as well. That all rounds out with the very final round at the Auto Club Speedway in nearly 6 months' time. It's a very, very long way away, but it's all up for grabs here tonight, and very much looking forward to seeing which driver comes out on top in the end, really, and just how close we can get this year. I mean, we've had some very, very close finishes in the past. The closest back last season in season 4. We'll see if we can go even closer than 26 thousandths of a second, which is what we had last year.
Very close indeed, and it's the question of, will we see a second-time winner? That's going to be a tough thing. There has been no repeat pole reward winner or race winner. In 4 years of racing this event, the most cautions came in Season 2 with 10, the least with 4 back last year, but a whopping 59 lead changes. That's a series record. Can that ever be topped again is a big question, because that is a great majority of last year's race, where he had a lead change average just about every green flag lap.
Yeah, absolutely. That averages out as more than 1 lead change every 2 laps. So, more frequent than that. It's quite incredible, really, to think about it. And especially when you consider the caution laps in there as well. I know there were only 4 last year, but still, that is a very, very remarkable record indeed. So we'll see if we can maybe even get more than that. And if we do, we're in for a hell of a race.
Absolutely going to be very intriguing to see how tonight goes as we take a look at our track map. Here in Speedway, Indiana. This facility opened in 1909. It's the 3rd oldest permanent automobile racetrack in the world, with seating for more than 250,000 fans. It's the highest capacity sports venue in the world. And your thoughts on this track, Ewan, as we get ready to go racing here for 100 laps tonight?
Well, it looks very easy. It just looks like a square or a rectangle from here, doesn't it, really? It looks very, very easy, but you can be sure that it is not that easy by any stretch of the imagination. The banking and all of the challenges that these 4 corners represent, and they all represent different challenges as well. You've got to keep it out of the walls throughout the 100 laps and keep your car on the straight and narrow to make sure you get through. Make sure you stay out of all the incidents to get to the end of this race at the very least, never mind to actually get a victory in this one. So you've got to keep your car out of the wall, but firstly also keep it pointing in the right direction as well, because it's just as easy to get loose as it is to understeer into the wall at the very same time. So 4 different challenges these corners all present for these drivers, and it's what makes Indianapolis so special.
It's going to make things very intriguing for tonight as drivers are currently finishing final practice at the moment. David Sirwan having the fastest time of 47.405. 33 competitors ready to take the track for qualifying. And among them, by the way, will indeed be Sage Karam, who took part in a youth camp earlier today, where he spoke about his 7th place Indianapolis 500 experience and the value of teamwork, where he signed hero cards and actually had one wrestler from that camp frame that hero card already. He has made it in time for tonight's qualifying, which is now going to be underway from the Brickyard. And when it comes to qualifying, Ewan, what are some of the challenges when it comes to this car, in your opinion, to have the proper lap to make sure you make no mistakes? 5 minutes, 2 solo qualifying laps for tonight.
Well, the margins around Indianapolis, because it is just 4 corners and you're not really, it's not like a normal road course, for example. It means that the margins are very, very fine. You've got to perfect absolutely everything from the moment you leave pit lane all the way to the very end of your run. You've got to get everything perfect. You've got to nail every corner. You've got to take the right line for every corner. Make sure you also, while getting round and out of the walls, make sure you don't leave any space on the table. You've got to make sure that you don't scrub the tyres more than you need to, because it will lose you momentum. One key word here for all of these guys: momentum. Keep your speed up. Don't go, well, definitely not braking. We're not going anywhere near the brakes throughout this. But you know, lift off as little as possible. Try and get the run out of the corners. Try not to steer as much as possible. Obviously, you want to keep your car out of the barriers and keep your car going in the right way. But you know, you've got to make sure that you're as smooth as possible. That's exactly what we're seeing from Aaron Morgan right now. You can see he's trying to put in as little steering movement as he can humanly manage without actually hitting the wall, just to keep that momentum up, just to keep that speed up, and that's what will bring pole position here today for whoever it's going to be.
Keep in mind, the qualifying lap record was set last season for this event by Robert Mikes. That was a 47.739 at 188.525 miles per hour. These drivers carrying a lot of speed here today, and it is very windy, keep in mind. For today, winds currently gusting to the southwest at 14 miles an hour. The first of time's already coming in, and it's a 48 flat among your top drivers already on the board. Robert Mikes leading the charge early on. The difference, 1/1000th of a second over Ariel Alanis at the moment.
We're not quite down to the heights that we saw last season just for the moment in terms of lap time, but it is so close. The top 3 separated by 0.003 of a second as we see series leader Sage Karam come up towards the line right now. It doesn't look like he's on a lap to our graphics at the moment. However, he's just starting one right now, so we'll be able to see what Karam can do and see if he can get up towards the front. I'm sure he will be able to, as we've got some new times on the board and the lead has completely changed. 5 new drivers pretty much inside the top 5 within seconds of each other.
Robert Mikes getting close to his lap record with a 47.817, but George Enzotto now to the current provisional top of the board with 2 minutes remaining with a 47.805. Follow along with Karam, though, to see how his laps go. And you can see just how much speed he's having to carry. A little bit of the curbing, though, in turn 4. Scrubs a bit of speed down to 182 miles an hour through turn 4. See where his first lap lies. The second lap seems to be picking up pace. It's a 48 flat for his first time around. Provisionally 20th for now.
He's going to need to improve on that because he's right in the danger zone in this race, really. I know that people are going to be taking it cautious into turn 1, but you really don't want to be back in the pack. It does just increase the probability of you getting involved in accidents, so he's going to need to improve fairly massively on that lap time. And as you mentioned, that just a clip on the curve at turn 4 has really ruined his momentum onto the front straight, and it might have ruined his momentum onto this one as well.
We'll see how Karam does on the second lap. Currently, Enzotto still with the top time by about a 1/1000th of a second over Chris Lanini. Karam lower down the straightaway. It's a 48.814. That gets him to 3rd or so on the board. Right in front of Robert Mikes, so still a decent qualifying run. Gets him inside the top 5 for track position. As the majority of the rest of the field continue to set times, including Mark Cohn, who currently tries to put himself higher on the board. He's currently ending off his run in the 47.8, up to 8th position. He'll go. Ricky Harden, Michael O'Brien, Matt Taylor, Craig Forsyth, all on the track setting up their final laps.
Michael O'Brien, by the way, just gone over the line and he's gone right to the front. So that's a very impressive lap time indeed. We're getting very close to the pole time set last year now, and it's time's running out for these guys if they want to displace him, because that's a fairly big margin, nearly 0.04 of a second at the top of the standings.
And the only driver to be in the 47.7s as qualifying comes to a close. Let's take a look at your starting grid for the 5th annual ButtKicker Indy 250. Your starting grid presented by ButtKicker is Michael O'Brien. We'll start on the pole with George Anzotto starting to his outside to begin tonight's action. Chris Lanini will start in 3rd with Tyler Graff in the 4th position. Sage Karam starts in 5th with Robert Mikes and Ron Hacker tied in time 6th and 7th respectively. Chris Fowler will start in the 8th position for Aerolex Racing with Mark Cohn, the Watchman, in 9th position. Ariel Alanis rounds out your top 10 with Nick DeGroot in 11th. Trevor Malone will start in 12th in his Teal Machine with DJ Clark back on the grid in 13th position. Mike Rigney coming off a rough performance in the HyperX race for the pole for the 500 this weekend will start 14th in this one with Ken Hacker in 15th. Chris Reagan will start in 16th with David Sirwa in 17th. Adam Young rounds out the top 18 in the Riding Shotgun Motorsports Machine. Mike Rasmus, keep an eye on him in 19th position along with Matt Taylor, 2 hard chargers known for their speed on the ovals. Paul Jenkins starts in 21st with Caleb Bensi in 22nd. Alex Guyon will start in 23rd with Kobe Moore in 24th. Gary Corley starts 25th with Aaron Morgan deep in the field tonight. A surprise qualifying run from the 48 in 26th. Craig Forsyth, Jean-Francois Matt will start 28th. Chris Staples and Cody Wenson round out the top 30. One other driver set a qualifying time, Ricky Harden, with Lionel Callisto and Richie Hearn not setting times in qualifying. That's a look at your starting grid presented by ButtKicker, as let's take the opportunity to look at your onboards for tonight's running of the ButtKicker Indy 250 from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. First, with your ButtKicker on board, Ricky Harden. What you see and what you hear is what you feel. For more information, visit thebuttkicker.com. With the HyperX on board, it's Sage Karam. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game. With the Graphics Esports on board, it's Chris Lanini. Graphics Esports, world-class design from the real world to virtual. Visit graphicsesports.com. And Covey Moore will have the ESTV on board. ESTV, for gamers, by gamers. For more information, visit estv.co. We have plenty of onboard scattered throughout the field as well for our competitors as we get ready to go racing. 250 miles, 100 laps, your keys to victory for tonight.
Well, I think it's going to be an exceptionally difficult race, really. The thing that I'm really looking forward to seeing, though, is how Mike Rasmus and Matt Taylor get through the field. They're 19th and 20th, right in the middle of the pack. But keep out of trouble is my first word of warning to all these guys. I'm sure they all know what they're doing, but, you know, keep out of trouble until the very final pit stops, and make sure you're there for the end of the race, because otherwise, you know, you're not going to be able to win with a bent car at any point if you had any crash damage or got involved in any incidents. So stay up the front, stay out of incidents. Make sure you can be a little bit passive for the first 70 laps, but in the last 20 or 30 laps, really got to go for it, and that's where we'll see all the action happen. That's where we'll see the race won, quite probably. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart, and the drivers are ready to go to start the 5th annual ButtKicker Indy 250. Pace truck is off, green flag is out. We're underway from Indianapolis. And 3 wide are running down into turn 1 as Sage Karam dives to the bottom.
He moves up 2 positions already, looking to battle for second spot in through turn 2.
Oh, very, very close between all of them, but yeah, a lot of draft going on now, and a good start from Karam actually to hold on to position down into turn 1. It looks like they're all going to fan out towards turn 3. Clean start so far, though.
And Anzaldo pushed up into the marbles as he's able to hold on to 4th position. Check that 3rd position as Karam up 3 spots already. Matt Taylor and Caleb Bensi up 4 in the back of the field. But a good launch from Michael O'Brien. He'll lead the first lap of 100 here from the Brickyard.
I get the feeling that he's not going to be leading all of them, though, because look at the pack behind him. Karam already into 2nd place. A fantastic season from him so far, but he's having a great race already here. It's only lap 2 and he's already up to 2nd place, a little bit wide through turn 2, very close to the wall there.
Nearly scuffed it with the tires. Keep in mind at Pocono, he scraped the wall and ended up being down in cornering speed as a result in that race. Before getting involved in incidents, finished in 15th. That's the only time he hasn't won a race so far this season. As we look in the midst of the pack, this is Chris Fowler in 7th position in the Aerox Racing machine. Lined up right behind Robert Mikes at the moment, trying to build up a run in the 20.
Difficult to do it, though. When you took out of that slipstream, you realise that the guy in front still has it, so it can be tricky, but he still managed to get his nose down the inside into turn 1. No, nothing doing, though, for Chris Fowler. He's going to have to stick behind. And this is the difficulty, really, when you're in a train like this. Everybody just stays in line, benefiting from the slipstream, and it's difficult when you get out of line to actually maintain that speed because you're no longer getting that slipstream.
Drivers carrying speeds of 200 miles an hour, by the way, in the midst of the pack. The top 3 separated by 0.7 of a second. Karam still trying to dial in to close up the gap. And Zodo, though, has lost about 5 to 6 car lengths so far to the race leaders, and one driver towards the back in trouble. That's Gary Corley. He's quickly off the racetrack. No caution. We stay green. It should also be worth noting that Adam Yun had started from the pit lane as well. He'll gain a spot from this incident off into the short chute.
Yeah, just got a little bit wide through turn 3 and spat the car to the inside wall, and an acrobatic rollover for Gary Corley. I'm afraid you can just see, just misses the apex completely. When you don't get into the bottom of the turn there, your problems get worse almost, and it's very, very difficult to get the car back from that point. There was only one way that car was going, straight into the wall, back down to the inside, and barrel rolling across the circuit. A shame to see a race ending so early, but I get the feeling that's not the last accident we'll see today, unfortunately.
You seen there was some wing damage circled as well. He had that actually before the race began in the 07 machine. How big of a factor do you think that was? That was contact from the grid, apparently. That may have been with Alex Gouillon.
Well, I think that could have been a huge contributing factor, actually, because you saw the way that car went in that corner. There was just no way he was going to get there at all, and clearly from the way his car was behaving, he was off the back of the field as well. You can see the field, it's very packed up at the moment. Everybody's in a slipstream, but he'd actually lost the draft almost. That's how far he was behind, so I get the feeling that was clearly affecting performance, and the most obvious example of that was unfortunately down into turn 3 that time.
Looking at some of the battles now shaping up as Matt Taylor has made his way to 15th position. Behind him, some drivers, Ken Hacker, Caleb Bensi, trying to shuffle a little bit. DJ Clark also trying to gain some positions. You see DJ Clark right now to the inside, able to take the position away. That's for 17th.
As well, though, get side by side down into turn 3. It's this what I mentioned earlier, though. When you took out of line like that, it can be tricky, but he's still at the inside line going into the next corner, and he's going to get the position as well. So nice battling going on, especially in the midfield. There's also good battling going on at the front, and Zaldo has just lost a place, by the way. He's down to 4th, and I believe that Lanini is continuing to lose places as well. He's down to 8th now.
Now, Lanini has lost the bottom of the racetrack. He's getting shuffled about by drivers diving to the bottom. But it's been incredible to see the defense that Anzaldo had been putting on for a while on Tyler Graff. Graff changed up his line and was able to make the move now with a higher line. That moves Graf up to third position. And the pack now has to regroup to catch up to the top two, who are still separated by just 3/10. As behind them, some shuffling for Ricky Harden.
Yeah, still battling going on between these guys, as we've seen a little bit earlier on. Around the outside might just about be enough to hold on to the place, although they're still going to battle and they might lose the group in front. That's what we're seeing at the front of the race at the moment, with O'Brien and Karam getting away, front two kind of getting away from the rest because of battling like this, and we're seeing it further down the field as well. So here are the leaders. It looks like the pack behind have just got themselves organised enough to keep the draft at the moment, so this race is staying together for the most part at the moment.
How critical is it to try and make sure you work together, but also at the same time try and get to a spot where you're thinking big picture? It's only a 2-stop race, keep in mind, for tonight.
Yeah, as we got a car down to the inside, that's Craig Forsyth, I'm afraid, who's been clearly involved in an incident. But and we'll just quickly, before we get to that, we'll have a look at it. Through turn two, he tries to go around the outside, he gets squeezed a little bit, goes into the wall, and I'm afraid there wasn't enough space for everybody. Down to the inside, gets spun down to the inside, and I'm not going to see if he was squeezed a little bit unfairly here, or whether he just put himself into the wall. It must have been close between the two. The car on the inside certainly drifts up, but Craig Forsyth comes back down the field, down the track, and yeah, hard to call that one really. I'm not entirely sure whose fault that was, but Forsyth definitely came off worse, and so did the car he was battling with actually. This is from Richie Hearn's view. Gets straight into the back of one of the cars. He's for sure going to have damage. You see the front wing completely crumpled on that car.
All three of those drivers made their way to the lane. Moore 8 seconds into the pit stops. He's back and rolling. The rest of the drivers extended amount of time in the lane will lose a lap. But already approaching the 10-lap mark in this race. We've flown by quickly here as O'Brien continues to lead. They continue to shuffle about right behind him, though, as to the bottom once again, Chris Fowler among the drivers trying to make a move on Robert Mikes.
Yeah, still coming off the corner 2 by 2 at the moment, with some cars benefiting quite nicely actually in behind, but it looks like Mikes might be able to get his nose in front, although he's got the outside line and he's taking a very wide line as well through the banking of turn 3. He's made it work though, and he is into 6th place. It is very important though, just to refer to your point earlier, especially at this stage of the race, that you need to keep it together, keep the draft of those in front of you. Don't battle wildly, because there's just no point at this stage. It's going to change so much throughout this race that there's no point in battling side by side the entire time. Make sure you keep the draft of those in front, and that's what these two are in danger of losing right now if they do indeed fight too much side by side through every corner. It's not particularly helpful at this stage in the race.
Yeah, they've lost some time, and one driver jetting out back there. That was Ken Hacker. That got a little bit squirrely coming off the corner. Believe he got into the wall, in fact, with the right rear tire.
It was a good save, a very good save. I felt for sure that he was going to actually have a big accident there, but no, a good save in the end, and he keeps it together, as do all of these guys in the end, and yeah, things still packed up together as more side-by-side racing going on, this time for 14th position going down towards turn 1.
And you see that side-by-side between Taylor, who's on the high line, Rigney, who's on the bottom line. When it comes to Taylor, 5 top 5s, 5 top 10s, and 7 starts so far this season. 4th in the point standings, able to hold on to that position. He's still a +6 on the race. New fastest lap last time by as well by Chris Reagan. Also cutting his way through the field is Aaron Morgan. He's up 5 spots. Currently attacking DJ Clark, who's a -8.
Yeah, he's had a good start actually, Aaron Morgan, especially after the poor qualifying that he had compared to some previous results that he has had. So 5th place in the standings for him at the moment, but all the way down in the he was outside the top 20. He's just got himself into it, but the first selection has kind of been made in this race now. 22 cars are still in the draft at the moment. There's a little bit of a break between 10th and 11th, and it looks like it might become a 10-car drafting train at the front if some of these guys aren't careful. You can see the mint car of Malone there battling with Hacker behind, and a number of others, including De Groot. So those guys really do need to be careful because they are in danger of losing the draft here. 8/10 of a second is their gap.
That's going to be very critical to make sure they keep that in mind. See some of the drivers, in fact, still going side by side. That was Taylor making the move on to Groot, in fact, to go up to +7. The thing that might help him a little bit, a bit of side-by-side for a couple different groupings in front of them. Lanini trying to stop the bleeding from his decline. Lannis and Reagan also fighting.
It's relentless at the moment, isn't it? The battling is just relentless between all of these guys, and the drafting, the fact that these cars are so wide open so much of the time means that it's battling all over the circuit all of the time. More side-by-side battling this time. I think it's for 10th place with Malone still involved, and it wasn't actually, it was a little bit further back, but still it's really, really good racing, especially in the midfield. O'Brien, Karam, Graf and well, mainly the front two actually have just kept themselves nose to tail and kept themselves single file, but that all changes now with Tyler J. Graf down the inside into turn 1.
Tyler Graf wants to break up that pattern that Karam's been having where he's been electing to save. And now they've lost some time. They'll have to reset. Graf will now be in range of Mark Cohn as a result. You see him in the pink machine.
Fowler as well. Fowler down the inside into turn 3. Side by side between Fowler and Cohn at the moment. Cohn on the outside in that pink and white car. Oh, close. Fowler just got a little bit unsteady on the curb on the inside of turn 4 there, and it's given the opportunity to Anzaldo, who we're on board with right now, but he lifts off as there's more battling going on up front. Karam now finally displaced from the lead. It looks like Graf is going to try and go 2 for 1. He's side by side with Karam at the very least. He's not happy that Karam has been able to just happily fuel save for the first 16 laps of this race, and he's trying to put an end to that right now.
Nearly making contact was Graf coming up the track. Here comes the Watchman now to the inside. Cohn now trying to get the run. Draft given to Graf. Graf will actually lose the spot as a result of this. So move Mark Cohn up to 3rd position. +6 for the Watchman.
He's had a great race so far, making his way through the field. It's not as easy as it looks. You might think the slipstream makes passing very, very easy, but it's just as easy to be repassed down into the next corner. So you really do have to be careful. It does take a certain skill, as you can see, battling relentless still further down the field. But Karam has played this pretty well so far. He's in 2nd place, drafting off of O'Brien, fuel saving at the moment. Hopefully for him, he's going to be making his pit stops a little bit shorter in this race and leapfrogging his way into the lead that way. But we're certainly starting to see a bit of a selection at the front of the field, around about 8 cars maybe, if you count Lalini in this little pack as well. It's getting smaller and smaller at the front of the race. It's the cream are rising to the top, so to speak.
And as these drivers make their way to the halfway point of the stint, let's take a look at your Sim Experience driver profile for Sage Karam. As talked about, Karam very dominant this season. 36 starts in his career in this series. 23 top 10s, 21 top 5s, 18 wins, 13 poles. That's coming after his first start at Worldwide Technology Raceway back in Season 2. Best finish, course. His first win came in Montreal back in Season 2. It's been a very dominant time for Karam in this series. But again, for those just tuning in, he's electing to continue to save here, not wanting to go for the race lead and get into a swap draft battle, just electing to stay lined up astern, save that extra bit of gas since the runs are expected to go 35 to 37 laps.
Yeah, and if this turns into a fuel mileage race, which it might well do with a couple of cautions at the right time, then he'll be in a good place. But at the moment, he's under absolutely no pressure at all because Cohn and Fowler battling really hard at going through these laps right now. And it looks like it's bringing some of the field back into the fray right now. Lalini right back on the back of the field, and Reagan there as well. Malone not too far behind. So it looks like from a leading pack of 8 that we had not so long ago, a couple of battles here have meant that the field has got a lot more closer. Some of those catching up from behind right now and getting involved, getting a sniff of the race leader, at least some more positions.
Georgian's Auto, meanwhile, continuing to drop back. He continues to be under attack from just about everybody who's been around him so far. He continues to lose the bottom of the racetrack. How frustrating is that as a driver to not be able to get into a rhythm with everyone wanting to leapfrog you in the pattern?
Yeah, it is very, very frustrating indeed. You want to be on the inside line, of course, shortest distance, and definitely the best way around here, but sometimes when the field is so close like this, you can't actually get down there, and you just end up waving cars on by. It looks like he might be able to get through now because he's kind of forced a bit of side-by-side battling between Reagan and Lini right now, which has helped him out a little bit, and he might even have a go of his own down the inside. But yeah, when you get pushed out wide, when you get pushed onto the outside line, it can be very, very difficult to regain the inside, as Sage Karam is about to experience that, I might think.
Side by side for second. Where does Chris Fowler go? He elects to save behind the two. Can the Watchman complete the pass? This is the longest they've been side by side for second. No. Cone backs off. Chris Fowler forced to back off as he lets him back in the line.
Well, something very, very impressive about Karam's car is the way he can hold speed around the outside line on this circuit. You know, we've seen multiple guys really just lose it. As soon as they're on the outside, they've got no chance at all of holding on to their place. But Karam is very, very good at holding his place when he's got a car down his inside. That's how he's been able to retain second for so long. Whereas others in other positions further down the field have just been shuffled back ever since they get shuffled onto the outside line. So that is very, very important to note about Karam, and that's going to play dividends later on in this race.
Of note, Cody Wenson has made his way down to the pit lane. He made hard contact just a lap ago on the exit of turn 2 to the outside wall. Nearly broke the suspension. He is currently down in the lane. That currently would mark 3+ drivers who have extended periods currently down the lane. 47.6 seconds for Wenson. But you see still, Graf poking to the inside, backs off, and Zaldo flares out to the outside as now Mike's tried to get to his inside, couldn't get so.
A good drive actually from Mike so far. He's been making up a couple of positions in the last few moments. Matt Taylor as well, what a drive from him. 10th place, up 10 from where he started this race, and he's having an absolutely out of this world rookie season at the moment in the Lionheart Retro Series. 4th place in the standings. I guess he's a realistic championship contender as well. If Sage Karam has any slip-ups along the way at any point here this season. So yeah, what a drive. Once again, Matt Taylor showing his worth.
Bit of a flare out again from Mike's, by the way. You've seen up the road a touch as he now goes for the spot on his auto. This is for 6th position. And just able to get the pass done this time as Chris Lonini follows suit right behind. And Zaldo now tries to go side by side, all while they go side by side again for 2nd position at the start and finish line. The Watchman with a massive run. He's going for the lead. Mark Cohn takes away the race leader. First lead change of the night.
Wow, just jammed it down the inside into turn 1, and there was nothing that O'Brien could do. His car on the outside clearly not as good and wasn't up to the challenge. Now Cody's going to have a lot of defending to do.
Side by side for 2nd. And Cohn's defending by trying to give the draft to Karam. And it's going to move Karam to 2nd position. Now it's the question, how does Karam now play this now that there's a different lead car? We're about to find out. Looking like he's electing to save, backing it down to 193 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Chris Fowler wants to go. Tyler Graf nearly made contact.
Wow, that was very, very close. They were trying to go 3 wide nearly. Graf was trying to get down the inside of Fowler, but Fowler at the very same time wanted to get down the inside of O'Brien, so they nearly came into contact, and that would have been catastrophic because look at how many cars are packed in behind this right now. It's all reformed at the front of the race. There's lots of guys in contention as Fowler's not waiting around.
And Fowler wants the lead and will get the lead. Another lead change coming to play, and now the intensity level's picking up. Will Karam elect to go for leapfrog once more? Tyler Graf right behind him. Michael O'Brien shuffle to 5th position after leading the first 20+ laps. He goes for 2nd. Karam diving to the inside, taking away second position.
You can clearly see that Sage Karam wants to be in second place. He doesn't care who's out in front. He just wants to be in second so that he can save fuel for the remainder of this stint at the very least, and hopefully go a little bit longer than the rest. But yeah, all it took was that one lead change, and suddenly this race has been blown wide open. O'Brien and Karam were very, very happy to sit 1 and 2 there. They were very happy to just draft off of each other, work with each other a little bit. Those from third on backwards were battling so hard that they couldn't even challenge those two out front. But as soon as Karam and O'Brien are displaced, this race gets blown wide open, and we've got battles all over this front group now.
One of the battles going on is involving Matt Taylor, who continues to want to descend through the field. He loses a spot to Lanini, in fact, this time, as he clips a little bit of the curbing. Lose some time, bunch him back up towards Nick DeGroot as they start to fan out in front. And keep in mind, we're within 10 laps or so of our expected pit stop window for our first stops of the race. How difficult will that entry be for some of these drivers? It's going to be a very busy pit lane coming up.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be unimaginably difficult for all of these guys because you have to brake very, very soon after you get off of turn 4. And let's not forget, it's not turn 4 normally. You have to take a bit of a tighter line as well to get to the left-hand side to get into the pit lane. It's going to be a crucial moment in this race as Graf now goes to the lead.
And Karam wants to follow suit. Fowler, though, able to defend for now. Tyler Graf, now your race leader. And Graf had wanted to go for several laps. It seems all of a sudden the runs are starting to get bigger and bigger, especially down that front straightaway compared to before. Here comes the run from Chris Fowler. He takes the lead right back.
Just about side by side. Graf can't hold it through there, so Fowler now leads with Karam just holding on in behind. He's realised that these two out front are just going to end up fighting at hammer and tongs almost, and he is not willing to get involved, although now he does. He's going to try and slip through with Graf on Fowler as we're starting to get to the point in the race where free wide is becoming acceptable into turn 1.
You've seen there Matt Taylor, Nick DeGroot among the drivers thinking about that there. Taylor able to hold on to that spot. Lanini was shuffled back to 12th. Keep in mind that these cars can become rocket ships as the fuel burns off, and we're seeing that now come into play. They're trying to break up the draft. Up at the lead group now. Bit of swerving down the back straightaway.
Yeah, that's the first time we've seen that to date, so that's an interesting moment there. The first weaving to try and break the draft, which is an important strategy when you're trying to defend. We haven't seen much defending so far, but now it seems that guys are willing to hold on to the position that they've got as Fowler now exchanges positions with Graf, and it's a carbon copy of what we saw one lap ago. Fowler takes the lead once again. So with 70 laps to go right now, by the way, these guys, I guess, are in some kind of fuel window for a pit stop one. If they want to have second and third stints that are a little bit longer, it's a little bit risky, but if you want to get out of traffic here, get out of the danger zone, then pitting early on might not be a bad idea.
Keep in mind there is traffic up the road, and Guyon, Moore, and Hearn, Richie Hearn, has been electing to come down each time the leaders have come close, but the question mark is, once the air drivers reach the other cars, how the other traffic will fare. Side by side again for the lead. Chris Fowler takes it at the stripe. Karam continues to watch as now Chris Reagan joins the fun.
He's come out of absolutely nowhere. Reagan was well outside of the top 10 not so long ago. Now he's right up with the leaders, making up great progress here, as some of those that we were mentioning earlier on being right up the front are now starting to fall back, like Lanini, who's down in 12th place as Graf goes for the lead once again. These two cannot stop fighting each other.
Keep in mind, with the pace we've seen, we've had a new race record. Mike Belair set the record in Season 3 of 47.509. The current record now being held by Ken Hacker with a 46.962. He's in 10th. As here we go. Traffic now 10. Car lanes up the road. Fowler now forced to the outside once again by Graf. Karam and Reagan go to the bottom along with the Watchmen. It's the top 5 group bunched up by about half a second or so. 22 car pack in total, separated by 3 seconds.
absolutely incredible action at the moment, and we're about to get to 1/3 distance as well. The pit window is very much up for grabs right now. It's very much in the well, it's very, very close basically for all of these guys. They can probably go 37 laps at the very maximum. Maybe if Karen has been fuel saving a lot, then he can go a little bit further than that, but we've got to expect some pit stops in the next few moments. That's a couple of lap cars coming onto pit lane, so they're not going to affect things at all, but Graf doesn't need the lap cars to get down the inside of Fowler and take the lead again.
Smart move by the lap traffic. Not wanting to play a factor here as we fall on board with Karam. The Raven Motorsports Black Machine. You can see how dirty that visor's getting as well from all the marbles and dirt as the track rubbers up from running behind these air cars in the pack. As already indications for drivers wanting to come in, Tyra Graf wants to come in this time.
Very important moment then. Karam's going to have to be aware here because that car's going to be braking and taking a tight line off of turn 4. Here we go, and there it is down into pit lane. It's completely on its own for Graf. Graf completely on his own, so that could affect him quite negatively in this one. Is the lack of draft going to put him way back in the pack when this all stacks up a little bit later on in five laps or so when this pit window ends?
That was going to be my next question on the importance of pitting with the group. How many cars would you want to pit with is going to be the big question for some of these competitors. As well, we have an air DNF. Richie Hearn is now out of the race. He joins Wenson, Forsyth, and Corley off the circuit. So 29 cars are currently circulating at 66 to go this time by.
Who comes in this time around? Nobody from the front 5 or 10 or so. So it looks like we're going to see a Graf left out all his own. I wouldn't say it's as important as, you know, a Daytona or Talladega like we see in those races in NASCAR, for example. But you know, it's fairly important to have a draft, and especially given that Graf's going to have a full load of fuel on board. He's not going to be as quick as these guys, even if they were running on their own as well. So he's going to be, I would say, probably outside of the top 5 by the time this pit window is finished. But the advantage he does have is that if there's any trouble between any of these guys getting on or getting off of pit lane, or indeed in pit lane, then he is going to avoid all of it because he didn't pit with anybody else. He just made sure that he kept his car clean, and that might have been a smart thing to do given how many laps we have remaining.
Ariel Alanis coming in this time. Ron Hacker will also come in, all while the shuffling continues now at the front. Where did Anzaldo come from? He got shuffled, remember, to the back into the top 10. He's now coming back with the vengeance and up to second position.
He was outside of the top 10 not so long ago, and he's right back into it. This just shows you how quickly it can change. It looks like he's going for the lead as well.
Anzaldo rips away the lead from Chris Fowler. As pit stops, keep in mind, are underway. As mentioned, Alanis, Hacker, Yun, and Kalisto have all come in for their service. About 9 to 12 seconds for them on service. Here comes Michael O'Brien. Chris Lanini also following suit for this time around.
Wow, O'Brien really fell off there at the end of that stint, by the way. He was right down outside of the top 10 as battles continue on between De Groot and Hacker there in 6th and 7th. It gets a little bit more spaced out at the front now as Fowler and Anzaldo get themselves, well, I was going to say in order, but Fowler's just got a good run on one of the lap cars there, and they're all going to have to make their way through here, of course. Lap 37, they've really got to be coming to the end of their fuel tanks right now.
That's Goyon, by the way, moving out of the way as Karam moves up to second. More pit stops expected this time by, including from your race leader, Chris Fowler. Fowler ducking in this time. And yes, indeed, the watchman Mark Cohn actually extending a lap here.
Yeah, De Groot as well. Taylor stays out. Rigney, Razimas as well. He's been in the pack drafting, by the way. He's one to watch later on in the race. Morgan as well. So a lot of drivers on pit lane. Everybody gets on without issues, but will they be able to get off and pull out of their pit boxes without issues? That remains to be seen as Sage Karam pulls up in his pit box, as well as Anzaldo right now just on the right hand side of his shot.
And the driver's already trying to zip out of the box. Keep in mind, these drivers not expected to take tires. As Karam able to get the edge off the pit lane. Karam a 12-1. 12-2 for Enzotto. 12-4 for Fowler.
Now, where is Graf in all of this? That's what I'm interested to see. He's a long way down to what I can see at the moment as the rest of them come onto pit lane. The 8 remaining drivers come onto pit lane. Where is Graf? He's just about got himself right behind Says Karam. So, in the end, having lost the draft earlier on because he pitted early, Graf looks like he has had a decent run of things as Robert Mikes is about to maybe get a penalty for that because that's not how you do the pit exit here.
Yeah, you don't want to go through the grass. That's going to definitely lose you some time as the uncontrolled chaos machine having some very chaotic moments there.
That's exactly what it says on the tin there, wasn't it? That was uncontrolled chaos, I'm afraid, but he's gathered it back up and he's managed to get away without damage. And we've gone nearly 40 laps without a caution, say it quietly. So, final pit stops have just happened. Save Karam looks like he's going to take the lead, or is he? Because Cone has had a fantastic pit stop there.
Only a 9.5 for Mark Cone. Able to get himself a 1+ second advantage. But the tough part's going to be what happens when the pack gets there. Tyler Graf is cycled to 3rd. Chris Lanini cycled to 4th. George Enzotto cycled into a side-by-side with Matt Taylor.
Look at Graf's pit stop as well here, Tyler. It's 9.2 seconds. A good 3 seconds quicker than Karam, which is why he's been able to keep the leaders despite losing that draft.
Some incredible pit stops overall and some incredible strategies, which are also very valuable when it comes to a race such as this. You need to not just have the pace, of course, but you also need to nail the strategy, and that's been emphasized with some of the drivers taking shorter stops by as much as 3 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. It just remains to be seen how long Tyler Graf can actually take this on fuel now. Presumably he's short-fielded that car just a little bit to make sure that he can stay with the leaders, but in the end it's a fantastic call. Sometimes I would have said, there's 60 laps to go. Why not just go back in the pack a little bit? You can work your way through. There's time. But I think in this situation it was a good idea because you can see there's a real front four kind of forming right now. Cone, Karam, Graf and Lalini all there. And there's a bit of a gap to those behind. So having that shorter pit stop for Tyler Graf has really helped him stay within that front group as the race is beginning to split apart.
The lead pack only features 13 cars, separated by 3.2 seconds now. Of note, Robert Mikes did end up having to come down a second time for his service. As we look at Michael O'Brien in 12th position, trying to battle a little bit with some of the drivers at the back of that pack. Not what they want to do, as that could lose them some time here. The front group is still trying to get completely bunched together. And Sage Karam now leapfrogged meanwhile by Tyler Graf down the front straightaway. So move Karam back to 3rd.
Yeah, he's wanting to get someone to draft off of again, I'd imagine, as Cone is just a little bit further up the road. So, he's dropped into 3rd, and Lanini might try and get through now as well. He's going to go to the inside into turn 3. Might get the move done as well, although he's not that far alongside. Karam's going to have to hold it around the outside and doesn't really want to, it looks like, stay in front. So Lanini is going to get up into 3rd place.
What do you think's going through Karam's mind right now as he continues to strategize here? Are you worried right now about these spots at all? What's going through your mind? Especially keep in mind he is working with the spotter tonight, Damon Martinez.
Yeah, I don't think this is a worry at all, really, for Karam, given that he's letting all of these guys through. He's can fuel save at this point, he can stay in control of his destiny almost, and he can use the draft of those in front to try and defend and not fall any further back. So personally, I'm not worried about that, about the fact that he's dropping back a little bit, because there's no damage that we know of at the moment. I haven't seen him touch the wall, I think it's absolutely fine that he's dropping back at the moment. I think it's a strategic call, a calculated call, and I think it should pay off in the end. When we get down to the end, if he hasn't quite got the pace, then we'll kind of know why or what he was doing at this stage. But I think he's just conserving for the moment, ready to unleash all of his pace right at the very end.
Some more shuffling meanwhile in that main pack, by the way. Chris Fowler, George Anzaldo, Matt Taylor among the cars wanting to dance around for position. As Taylor continues to move his way to the pack, it's a plus 13. That's your biggest mover of the race at the moment. Mike Rasmus also up 11 spots right behind him.
Yeah, great pit stop actually from the number 68 there to get himself into 8th place. We've not spoken about him all day, but he's right up there now, and if he wants to take charge of this championship and try and challenge Sage Karam for the championship in this season, then he's going to really need to get up towards the front of the field. That's exactly what he's trying to do right now. As speaking of Karam, he's getting pushed down a little bit further. Fowler gets through, and he's trying to go through on Lanini as well.
Fowler backing up the corner, trying to charge the exit. Lanini, though, able to pick up the draft and go back single file. Look behind them, though. That's Matt Taylor. Now making a move on Anzaldo and picking up the draft from Fowler's move up in front. So move Taylor up to 6th now, once more, as he continues to try and get track position.
Plus 14 on the day after a poor qualifying, down in 20th place. It's been a great drive from him so far. It's not over yet, though. Anzaldo and Razimas both there all at the same time as Fowler continues his march up the field further on up the order, but yeah, Taylor just gets shuffled back to 7th place. He looks like he's battling very, very hard actually for 6th, as we've got Robert Mikes in the pit lane with no rear wing.
What happened to Robert Mikes? Remember, he had already lost the pack, and I believe this is a self-inflicted incident, possibly, yes.
Just goes a little bit too understeers a little bit too much. It pushes the boundaries just too much on the exit of turn 2, clips that wall, spins to the inside, and that is it for that car. Of heavy, heavy damage, and I believe he's going to be out of this one.
Tough break for the 2020 pole sitter in this event, as move Fowler up to 2nd. Mark Cohn continuing to lead these laps. We're expecting a lot of back and forth once we get past halfway through this run, similar to the first run as well. It's been impressive what the 39's been able to do, keep in mind, to just be able to continue to utilize that clean air and just continue to power on forward. No one's been able to make a move quite yet. In fact, Fowler electing to stay behind this time.
I think it's a smart choice from Fowler to stay where he is just for the moment. But yeah, as you say, a great drive from Cohn so far. He was up there in the first stint, but certainly not to this degree, and he's holding his own at the front of the field right now. You can see by the way it's packing up behind him that maybe he hasn't got the outright speed of some of these guys, but yeah, he's keeping it very entertaining for us as Lanini tries to go from 4th to 1st in one fell swoop.
That's at the front of the field as you see some of the shuffling right in the pack. So move Chris Lanini to the race lead, all while behind him, Sage Karam gets shuffled to the 5th position. And this main pack continues to feature 13 cars, now separated by just 1.4 seconds. Remember, it was 3 seconds back just a few laps ago. That's how quickly things can close back up as we are approaching the halfway mark of this race.
Yeah, we saw for the first 15 laps of the first stint that things were very, very static, especially at the front of the field, but now that we've got almost 15 laps on this stint, we're seeing the same thing happen again. All it takes is one lead change. It blows the race completely wide open, and then we get continual battling all the way to the very end of the stint. It's great entertainment. Fowler taking the lead once again, as Cohn, having led only 2 laps ago, he's down to 5th already.
Again, similar to what we've seen before with this situation with the field burn. The lap time starting to pick up once more a little bit after falling off a touch bit before to the 48-second bracket. See if anyone tries to go for the run this time, as Anzaldo does want to try and take a look. This is on Ken Hacker, who's been having a pretty stellar and quiet race today. Anzaldo not able to make the move, though, forced to back off as Hacker with a big run now into the short chute as he goes for the attack.
Good dive down the inside there. Not an orthodox place to make a move, but he tried it. I don't think it's going to pay off in the end, and his run is really going to be damaging to him down into turn 3, although it looks like he's going to hold on to that place at the very least. But yeah, further on in this pack, it is battling. There is quite a lot of battling, should I say. One man we haven't mentioned at all tonight either. Man in the 25 car in 13th place. Alan is who's 2 seconds off the leader right now, but he's just drafting on the back of this pack. We've not mentioned him all day, but he's got himself into the leading group, and that's kind of what you can. This is kind of the best situation really for a driver like him. You know, make sure you don't get yourself mentioned, because it means that you've not been in the battles or the incidents so far in the race. But also get yourself in that front group and get him. You know, he's giving himself a shot to win right now, as are all of these top 13.
Cross flags up at the stand. Last time they crossed it. Coming up to 49 laps to go. What's been an incredible race so far. Green throughout this entire race. And several lead changes towards the end of these runs. It's Chris Fowler in the race lead. Chris Lanini, Tyler Graf, Sage Cara, Matt Taylor. Your top 5. 49 laps to go. This time by, you're watching RaceSpotTV and ESTV for coverage of the Lionheart Retro Series. Welcome back to live coverage of the Lionheart Retro Series presented by Sim Experience as we continue the 5th annual ButtKicker Indy 250 at iRacing's virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Justin Prince with you alongside Ewan O'Leary with Arjuna Kankipati in the producer's seat for tonight's action, and boy oh boy has it been a barn burner. Green the entire way so far, with several lead changes and storylines and a lot of big movers. The biggest of them, Matt Taylor. He is now up to 4th position in the main pack as Chris Fowler continues to lead, coming up to 45 laps to go. It's been an incredible race so far.
It really has been a really, really good race indeed, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down really either at this stage, which is absolutely what we want. It's been green the whole way, as you mentioned. Well, I think, although I'm not entirely sure, I'm pretty sure this might well be the longest green flag run we've ever had in an Indy 250 for the Retro Series at the very least. So yeah, it's been green for the entire way. It looks like we might break the record for the least amount of cautions, although I don't want to jinx it just in case, because there are still over 40 laps to go, and as this race winds down, as the laps tick down, these guys are going to get more and more aggressive with every passing lap, and the defence especially. I mean, so far the defending has been fairly, okay, you can go through now, but, later on in this race, they're not going to be quite so nice.
Yeah, the aggression level expected to pick up as this race goes on. There is still one stop to get to the end on fuel. Those stops expected in about 14 laps or so. As we now see these drivers make their way down the front straightaway once again. Keep in mind, Matt Taylor has been one of the drivers who has been on the aggressive all race long. 17 spots gained now for the number 8 machine.
It's not been a bad drive either from Razmas and Hacker as well, who've made up 9 and 10 spots respectively as well. So there's been some great drives so far, and some not so good drives as well, of course, from some of these guys, but it's a very consistent one from the likes of Sage Karam. He's starting to fall back a little bit now though, P7, and I'm surprised that he's letting this happen actually to himself, because he was quite happy to run second for so long in this race, that I'm surprised he didn't continue on with that. Maybe he would have let Fowler and Nannini battle away up the front of the field. It seemed that he was going to do that, but he's dropping down further and further away now as we're getting more battles for the lead. Taylor up to second place now.
An incredible drive from Matt Taylor in this race. Matt Taylor, 16 career starts in the series, just one victory. He's one of the drivers who could be a favorite for that victory today. With the pace he's shown, the question's going to be, does he elect to save now, or does he elect to try and leapfrog Chris Fowler for his first lead laps of the race?
I mean, personally, the way this race is going, I would not be fuel saving anymore. This race is, well, probably not going to turn into a fuel mileage race, really. It's going to be green all the way, as Taylor now does go to the lead and not fuel saving, not hanging around at all. So Fowler demoted to second, but yeah, I would be going flat out at the moment if I was any of these drivers, really, because these guys have been running out for so long. They've been in the draft for quite a lot of this race. Most of them have anyway, so they will have been lifting off, and they absolutely make it on 2 stops. There's absolutely no fuel worries at all. I'll be running this one wide open for the last 40 laps.
Chris Fowler going for the move now for the race lead once again, all while behind him some air drivers starting to start their shuffle again. Sage Karam wants to make his charge now, show what he can do. Now hounding the back end of Matt Taylor down the front straightaway, coming up to 41 laps to go.
Looks like there's still a leading pack of 13, by the way, with these guys, just as you saw in the background of your shot there, closing a little bit. 3.5 seconds is the gap now from 14th on back to the lead of the race. However, I don't think they're going to get there at this stage, and even if they do, I don't think they're going to be able to make their way through the field. I think the race winner is going to come from one of these top 13, unless, of course, we get a caution, which would throw this race completely wide open.
And keep in mind, we talked about the shorter pit stops. It took this pack about 20 laps to make the move on the Watchman before. It took about 10 laps to close completely on up to the back end of the 39 machine before. So that's going to be very critical to think about, and how some of these drivers are saving. As now another move to the inside. Once again, Lanini gets shuffled out. That's Graf and Ken Hacker making the move to go inside the top 5.
Yeah, he's slowly made his way up inside the top 5 now, and it's been a good result for him, or a good drive from him so far, should I say. Lanini getting shuffled back a little bit now. This seems to be happening to him, really, as the stint wears on. He seems to be falling back a little bit. Not sure what it is. Can't be tyre wear, because nobody changed tyres on the last stop, and they presumably won't be for the final stop either. But, just as the fuel wears down and fuel burns off, Lanini seems to fall down through the field, and then at the opening part of the stint, he seems to be very good indeed, making up positions early on. So I don't know what that's all about, but he's dropped down to 6th at the moment.
Look at that run from Tyler Graf, going up a couple cars at 198 miles an hour. Having to back it down to 185 for the side-by-side for the race lead. What a run for Graf to take away the point.
Well, has he? Fowler coming back on the outside line. He's got a pretty good run as well, with Taylor going to follow him on and going to watch on from behind as they go side-by-side into turn 3. Graf with the inside line. Fowler goes wide on the outside and lets Graf into the lead of the race. A good move. Big slipstream down into turn 1, and Deserved lead once again for Graf. He leads for the, I think, well, I've lost count of how many times he's led today, but he's back to the front either way as Taylor now tries to make a move.
3 wide now for the race lead as Taylor wants to lead for the first time overall. He'll take the race lead away. Graf back to second as Chris Fowler holds on to third. Sage Karam shuffled to fourth position. What a move by Taylor as he completes the charge from the back to the front. But it's not over yet. Graf wants the lead again. Going for the swap draft now into turn 3.
He's going to get it as well. Graf back to the lead of the race as this race continues to change, and Karam now starts to stretch his legs just a little bit, gets himself into third place, and now sets his sights on the leaders quite possibly. But as we're in the last 40 laps, things really starting to heat up now. 3 wide into turn 1 has become acceptable. That's how Taylor got to the lead in this one. And as we saw in the first stint, the fuel wears off. These cars turn into absolute machines in a straight line, drafting off of each other, passing each other at every opportunity. The racing really does get good at this end of the stint.
Now here's the question, how do you play this if you're Graf on your pit stop window? Keep in mind, he pit up to 5 laps earlier than some of these competitors. We are in the window where you can pit now, by the way, so we may see that opportunity anytime.
Yeah, let's not forget, if you do pit and a caution comes out immediately, then you'll be able to cycle your way right to the front of the field. So somebody, especially further down the order, might gamble and have a go as Sage Karam now looks like he's going to lead another lap in this race, side by side with Taylor into turn 1.
Karam has rode behind much of these competitors all race long. It's his time to pounce, he says. Now, Karam to the race lead for one of the first times today. Taylor electing not to make the move down the backstretch. Everyone staying single file except for Ken Hacker, who nearly got into the back end of one car with that run.
Yeah, it's a massive run, and side by side behind with Anzaldo and Reagan as well, who's been hovering in that 5 to 10 kind of position over the last few minutes, but he's got shuffled back there to 7th place, and De Groot might try and get his way through as well. It's side by side for the lead again, Karam and Taylor, as Taylor looked like he just about led the lap that time.
Yes, he did, by 0.000, that close at the stripe that time for Taylor to get the lead lap. Ricky Harden has elected to pit, by the way, from the second pack of cars. The air pack, by the way, is 1.4 seconds behind the top 13. So they are slowly chipping away at the gap as these leaders fight. Karam holds on to the outside for now.
Oh, he's very wide, and you see what I mean by that car holding speed around the outside like pretty much no other car can here. You saw Fowler in the background, just falls back. Graf gets through, but Karam was able to hold on to the lead despite being on the outside line, and that's going to be a real asset towards the end of this race as we're nearly going 3 wide for the lead again. Graf decides against it though.
Taylor again the lead lap.
Oh.
And the indications of pit stops are coming over the radio. Expecting a flurry of pit stops this time by for the main pack.
Let's see who takes, as we're nearly 3 wide again. Karam goes to the inside of Taylor, but let's hope that Taylor doesn't want to pit this time. I don't think he'll need to with regards to his fuel. I don't think he'll be constrained by that, but certainly he might. It might be halted with his strategy. Let's see who comes in this time.
Tower Graf leads the window as he'll dive it on in. Lanini also coming on in. Hacker also on in with them. Chris Reagan, Trevor Malone also ducked down to the lane for service. Their final stops.
I think this is a smart call from these guys. They're not going to be alone without a draft. However, they are going to be pretty isolated on pit lane, which is what you want. So I think that's a good call from these guys, and especially if the guys at the front now, Taylor, Karam, Fowler, if they start battling hard, then it's going to play into their hands. That's exactly what they're doing.
Karam swapped wraps his lead. Himself to the lead, I should say. As Chris Fowler falls on behind, will anyone peel off into the lane? No, not for the top 3 at least. Bit of separation now for the main pack as a result of that flurry of pit stops, by the way. Michael O'Brien has nearly lost a full second to the cars in front as Taylor holds on into turn 1.
Yeah, it's not quite as chaotic as it was before, and that's going to be good for these guys. Because you can be sure the other group is working single file, trying to work together to get to the lead of this race. So these guys have kind of got to do the same if they want to remain up front. But Karam not willing to stick behind Taylor at the moment. He goes to the lead again.
Absolutely impressive amongst these drivers. The pit stop times for that group, by the way, 9 seconds for all but Tyler Graf, who had a 12-second stop. No indications of calls this time. The other cars are 37 seconds behind this group. 3 wide for the lead as Anzaldo says hello.
Oh, Karam is going to get squeezed on the outside line there. He's going to hold on to second, but that was very, very close. Anzaldo not willing to stick around either. This battling, let's not forget, is going to hurt them, and it is going to mean those guys who pitted early are going to be played right into this race.
Keep in mind, you can utilize the outside line here we've seen throughout this race today, especially that second groove. It has been usable at times, but you need to play it near perfectly. More indications of pit stops coming from this group as near contact with some of the drivers coming on in. Nick DeGroot coming in.
Yeah, a couple of pit stop takers this time. Cohn as well, who I'm surprised he was able to run so long actually because of his pit stop time. But anyway, he's in now as Anzaldo is continuing to hold on to the lead. It was so close though. Taylor very nearly clipped the back of Anzaldo and Karam at different times, spinning them both into the inside wall. But fortunately, everybody just kept it clean. Now, though, we're going to get a good view as to where the likes of Graf are going to be in relation to the likes of Mark Cohn, who is in the pit lane right now. Those three are going to be able to work together and maybe even rejoin the pack behind them who pitted a little bit earlier on.
Here is that other pack of drivers as they're already down the front straightaway. The other drivers have completed their service. 8-second pit stops for all the other drivers who are in the other packs, so they may gain some time here. You can see how close it's going to be amongst those packs.
It looks like these pit stop times are just going to get shorter and shorter with the longer these guys leave it, as Anzaldo has dropped to 11th place. I don't know what that's all about because I can't see him in the pit lane right now, but anyway, he's dropped down. Oh no, sorry, it's just a timing glitch, don't worry. But Karam and Fowler still very close in attendance, and Karam's going for the lead again.
Ron Hacker out of young Lionel Kalisto ducked down that time by, as Karam now takes the lead once more. 28 to go this time by. Chris Staples has indicated he'll come in this time by for service as Anzaldo gets the lead lap barely at the stripe by 9/1000ths of a second.
One of the cars coming out of the pit lane there, by the way. It's going to be a lap down at this point, but still side by side. Karam holding it around the outside, not quite able to though into turn 2 at least. Maybe have another go into turn 3, but looking at those guys behind, DeGroot and Cohn are now leading of those who have pitted. Let's see if they can come out on top. I don't think so, because let's not forget these times, these pit stop times for these guys up front are going to be a lot shorter, probably around 6-7 seconds for them, as opposed to the 8 seconds that DeGroot and Cohn spent stationary.
More pit stops expected this time as Sirwa Alanis come on in. They also bring Mike Rigney. You see them in the backdrop on the right side of your screen. So they're now in for their service. And knowing that amount of time you have to put in and how much fuel you have to put in is going to be so critical. Because we mentioned you need to nail the strategy earlier to be one of the main pillars of winning this type of a race. Here at this racetrack, we're about to see why.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see where Cohn is going to be, and DeGroot indeed, where they're going to be in relation to the guys who have just pitted, like Alanis, etc. By the way, Graf is a good couple of seconds behind this, which is not good for him, and so are the others who pitted a little bit earlier on, had that longer stop. There are the cars on the inside line there, by the way. It looks like Alanis and Rigney are going to be overtaken fairly easily. There's Rigney on the inside line. Alanis, though, a good stop from him. He looks like he's going to have actually overtaken the likes of DeGroot and Cohn, and Razimasu's here as well. They're
36 seconds behind your race lead group at the moment. The Arrow Group, 38 seconds behind, led by David Sirois, who took an 11-second stop. When he came on down, Chris Fowler, Michael O'Brien, Jean-Francois Matt, who has been having a quiet race, are in the lane. More pit stops expected from your race leaders this time by.
O'Brien jumps Fowler. That's a long stop from Fowler. 9.5 seconds, excuse me. Where's that going to bring him out? I have a feeling this is going to drop him to the back of the group involving Rajimash and Konas. The rest of the leaders are in.
And one of the lap cars actually going to pull to the side to let by the race leaders. He pulled to the left side of the lane as you see the R drivers coming off and away. So Karam and Zoldo, Clark, Taylor, Jenkins, Morgan, all in for stops. Everybody else has now come in for their service for the final time at 25 laps to go. And Karam taking a quick stop of 8.6 seconds, leads the charge. Matt Taylor, Paul Jenkins, George Anzaldo among the next drivers behind. DJ Clark, in fact, jumping Anzaldo.
And Zaldo had a very long stop there, over 12 seconds for him, I'm afraid, and it's going to drop him so far down the order. Aram looks like he's going to take a big race lead, although he nearly clips the grass and crashes on the pit exit. O'Brien has made a fantastic stop there, by the way, to get up into 4th place.
An interesting sequence is DJ Clark already losing several positions after his run off the pit lane after coming out inside the top 5. As the Arrow groups have converged together, it's Karam in the race lead, Taylor, Jenkins, O'Brien now in 4th, Chris Fowler in 5th, Alanis, DeGroot, Cohn, Rasmus, Clark. The top 10 as they make their way down the front stretch. And now this is the critical point of the race, because Karam has a 1.9 second lead or so over the rest of the pack.
That is a big lead, a very big lead indeed, and you can't even say it was on pit stop time. It was just, well, I don't even know what it was, but, you know, he's managed to get the lead nearly 2 seconds in front, and as he leads right now, I have a feeling that he's going to become the driver with the all-time most laps led here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, at the Oval anyway. 55 laps was the record by Jason Galvin coming into this race. Sage Karam only 9 laps behind that with his 46 laps that he led in Season 4. It looks like he will have overtaken him by the end of tonight.
Caution!
Oh!
First time tonight as Tyler Graff and Chris Reagan are in trouble in turns 3 and 4, and this changes everything.
Well, it was looking like Karam was going to waltz to a victory there, but not anymore, because this field is going to be stacked up again. Let's have a look at what happened between these guys. It's a battle in a group further down. The car on the inside just drifting up ever so slightly into the car on the outside line, and I'm afraid that is a fairly horrendous accident, and a shame to see, but just fine margins, you can see, just missing the inside line ever so slightly, and great avoidance for Chris Reagan, who's going to be puffing his cheeks out, and he actually gets hit a little bit later on. So a separate incident for Chris Reagan is he got hit by Trevor Malone going up towards turn 4. I guess they thought they were past the danger, but I'm afraid they've created another incident of themselves just a few meters after the first one.
Yeah, and that's where the trigger eventually did come out, believe, here as we see from above that contact and how close it was for Reagan. Wow.
About to get even closer here, I'm afraid too close. I guess, as I mentioned, I guess they thought they were clear, and Malone just drives straight up into Reagan, and Reagan was kind of coming down at the same time. They were kind of converging on each other, not really concentrating, and yeah, Reagan goes around for a spin. That's a shame to see his race end in that way, but the field is going to be stacked up again, and Karam is going to be the most frustrated out of everybody with this situation right now. He thought that he was going to get an all-green race, you know, a clear victory. Well, not a clear victory, but, you know, he might have just been out of the draft at the time. But now, of course, it all changes, and now everybody on the lead lap has got a chance of winning.
And now it's going to be really intriguing to see what happens in these closing stages. It's looking like we may have a 20-lap shootout when we get the green flag here. This is a quick yellow racetrack and brings us to 24 drivers in the main pack. It was reduced down to about 10 or so before the caution flag came out. How do you try and play this now if you're Karam, where you go from saving fuel much of the race, to go on the offensive, to now going from nearly breaking the draft to now being in defensive mode potentially for the closing stages. He's been through 4 different gears throughout this race.
Yeah, he has indeed. I mean, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to change that up once again, but I think the kind of draw of an Indy 250 victory would be fantastic for him, and he's going to try and defend this one as much as he possibly can. I think, you know, we're going to see some hard racing right towards the end here, and Karam is going to be involved in it right to the very fore.
Now standing by is one of the drivers involved with that caution flag. Tyler Graff now joins us in the broadcast booth. Tyler, first things first, what happened from your perspective?
I don't know. I thought it was kind of obvious that we all needed to ride, and the 24 and the 99 just kept battling, and we needed to get back up to the pack up front of us. And so I pulled in behind the 24, trying to like show him like, hey, let's run single file here. And the 99 just got inside of me, and I think he got in the wake of the 24 and pushed up into me. And then once these cars touch, and you're just gone. It will snap over steer, and there was nothing I could do.
Overall, you were having an interesting race as well. Took a short stop on the first strategy to get yourself into a good position, track position wise, and we're battling for the lead. How would you describe the race before that situation popped up and you had a longer stop for your second pit stop window?
It was really just a difference between guys playing chess and some guys playing checkers. A lot of us were trying to be a little bit more patient. I know the LPM guys and myself were kind of doing that, and then you had the guys that were kind of just sending it to the front, and we were happy to let them go by. But yeah, it was a lot of just different strategies. If people were going a little easier, they seemed to be letting guys go.
We'll let you get back to your team. Thank you very much for your time, Tower.
Thank you.
Tower Graff, his 26 machine, now among the drivers who have been a part of attrition today: Robert Mikes, Alex Guyon, Cody Wenson, Richie Hearn, Craig Forsyth, Gary Corley, all out of the race. Keep in mind, he does a lot of the media graphics, race logos for all the series in Lionheart competition as well. So a lot of work put in by Tyler Graff. But these drivers about to have to put in a lot of work for 20 more laps. For the ButtKicker Indy 250, it's Sage Carroll, Matt Taylor, Paul Jenkins, Chris Fowler, Michael O'Brien, your top 5, as the pace truck is dropping off, this time by... Ready to go back racing. We're underway once more from the Brickyard. Side by side for the race lead, Matt Taylor gets the lead lap at 19 laps to go. Karam up on the high side as Paul Jenkins looking to take advantage of this.
A little bit of a poor restart further behind, by the way. The top 5 have really sprinted away with this one, with Taylor now leading it. Karam, Jenkins, Fowler, O'Brien all involved, but Kona's a little bit further back, and he's going to have to try and tow the group back. You can see some of those guys further behind are really out of the picture now as Fowler tries to go for third.
And Fowler does take away third as a result of that slingshot. Noticing more and more as this race goes on, drivers having to let the car roll a little bit more in speed. We've seen speeds in qualifying, remember, in the 190s in the middle of the apexes. Drivers going as low as 183 in the corners. Fowler elects not to take it 3 wide as Karam gets the lead lap.
We're going to be able to hold the lead though through turn 1. We'll have a quick look when we get the shot of it, but Yeah, he does. He does indeed take the lead. Taylor stuck on the outside line. Looks like Fowler's going to try and follow Karam through, but you can see that we're now down towards the end of the race. We wouldn't be seeing this before. It's 3 wide with O'Brien right on the very outside, further behind. So you can really tell that this race is coming down right to its very conclusion right now, because guys are taking a lot more risks. Battles are happening all over, and they're happening a lot more fiercely as well.
Top 10 currently separated by 1.2 seconds, and it's about a 1.6 or so second separation between 10th and 11th. Taylor for the race lead once again. Takes the point at the stripe. 17 laps to go. As Mark Cohn now comes into the picture once more.
He was leading earlier on, let's not forget, and dropped back during the second stint, but that caution has got him right back into the picture. Looks like he's trying to get through on Jenkins, but can't quite for the moment. O'Brien's going to look to take advantage.
Brian to the inside as you see the side-by-side for the race lead in front of him as well. Sage Karam looks like he is hungry to try and go back-to-back in this event.
O'Brien was very, very understeery there going through turn 3 and nearly put Cohn into the wall. Not intentionally, but just washed up really, as Fowler now trying to go for the lead.
And Fowler taking away the lead into turn 1. The Watchman jumps up to 3rd position, meanwhile with the last moment on Taylor.
Still side by side though, we'll see if he can hold it, but for the moment he is in 3rd. Taylor's going to get the draft though down into turn 3, although Karam is going to try and take the lead away from Fowler himself. It looks like he's going to be successful.
Sage Karam back up to the point. And it's the matter of, will this continue all the way to the checkered? It's going to be interesting when the right move is being done. When do you think that move will be, as Fowler takes the lead, and we go 3 wide for the race lead. Mark Cohn ripping it away on the bottom.
Looks like he's going to take it as well. Karam nice and steady on the outside just to make sure that he can at least stay in this race and stay up front around the outside of Fowler through turn 2 as well. Karam's car on that outside is very, very good. And he's going to have a good run into turn 3 as well. Cohn's going to be under big pressure now.
And the Snake sees Karam rip away the bottom, going nearly all the way into the grass to take away the bottom line. Fowler really had to check up in 3rd position in that side-by-side as well, as we see from above.
Good run from Cohn. Good run again, and Fowler's going to get the benefit of a double slipstream now and probably take it 3 wide. Through the middle he's going to go, trying to take the race lead away.
And Karam elects to back off, goes back to the bottom. Fowler trying to still swing it up from the top line. And Mark Cohn able to get the better run once again on the bottom of the racetrack. How will this set up Karam down the back straight away? Keep in mind that behind them, you see right behind, they continue to fight in that air group. Yeah. The big separation now is up to 3 seconds or so. Make it 2 seconds between 10th and 11th.
Yeah, it's getting bigger as well, that gap, because the guys behind, if you're outside the top 10 now, it's getting bigger and bigger, and Anzaldo's caught himself on the wrong side of that. Surprised to see him caught out there, but here we go, 3 wide across the line. Karam steaming through the middle, and if the race were to end on that lap, then he would have won it, because he led that lap. So maybe Karam is going to try and jockey for position and be 3rd coming through the very final corner of this race, so he can get the draft off of the 2 in front and steam through the middle to take the lead. We'll see if it works out that way on the very final lap, but I have a feeling that leading on the final lap, going out of the final corner, might not be a very good idea.
Once again, the Watchman trying to set things up for 2nd spot. Had to check up side by side with Fowler. And also trying to make some moves. Mike Rasmus, remember him? He's up 14 positions, and he's starting to crawl his way on forward. Karam nearly scrapes the wall down the front stretch. Here comes Fowler, and here comes Mark Cohn to take it 3 wide again down the front stretch as Karam gets squeezed.
Taylor's there as well. Taylor's there as well. Down the inside of Karam. Very close through turn one. They continue side by side. Code takes the lead. Karam holds on to third, but Taylor's very much in this picture. And Rasmus is here as well. We haven't spoken about him barely all day, but he's second in the standings. He needs points. He needs to beat Karam really as well to kind of close that championship margin, and that's exactly what he's trying to do right now.
Rasmus now shuffle back to 7th position. Keep in mind, behind Michael O'Brien, those drivers running side by side as Karam may have tapped the wall in the short shoot. See if it impacts Karam now as he tries to think about 3 wide up the middle. This time, though, not able to get a big enough run as Jenkins now tries to dive his way underneath.
You might be right then. You might be right.
Trouble!
Caution.
Chris Lanini.
Caution's out, yeah. So this race is going to stack up once again. But you might be right. Karam may have touched the wall at some point because as he was in the same situation he was a lap previous, he wasn't able to steam through the middle with the straight line speed and take the lead like he did last time around. So that's a little bit concerning. We'll see how he is on the restart. But here's what happened further down. Oh, number of cars spinning out and flipping through the air as well. David Siro was involved in some capacity. Let's see. Alanis looks like he was the first man spun around. Let's see how this happened. Oh, just drifted up into the car beside him. And yeah, that's not a place you want to end up, is it? Through the middle of turn one, completely backwards. He gets out of the way, sure enough, but about 4 cars involved, I'm afraid, including DJ Clark.
That's at the tail end of the lead pack that ends up being the main trigger. There was also an additional car, I mentioned Lanini, who went into the inside guardrail and kicked up all the cones. And then there's the second group who just comes bearing on in. And Bensy and several others do barrel rolls as a result in the short shoot.
Mike Rigney looks like he's damaged as well. David Siro, we saw involved. Oh, there's a car there's a separate accident here to actually work out what happened here. So there was a car down the inside of the front straight there, completely in the wall on its own, and I've no idea what that was all about. But we've no idea who it is either. It looks like Lanini, you might be right. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
But looked like a completely separate accident heading down into turn one.
Yeah, you'll see right here.
4 wide. Tried to go 4 wide. Just wasn't enough space.
Yeah, that part was where I noticed that as well, with the hard contact going to bring significant damage. But the Watchman now leads, and this brings us to an interesting situation. Coming up to 9 laps to go. It's Cone, Fowler, Karam, Jenkins, and Taylor, your top 5. Oh boy, this is going to be a wild finish, potentially.
It really is, yeah. Let's hope that it stays green right towards the very end, because we do want to see racing right up towards the end, and we do want to see this settled on the circuit as opposed to with a caution like it was in Season 2, I'm afraid. So, yeah, let's hope so. It's been a very clean race so far, though. We've seen very, very minimal accidents, you know, for the first, I think it was 70 laps or so. 75 laps, we didn't see a single caution. We saw a couple of accidents, but we didn't see a single caution. So, yeah, we'll see how the end of the race pans out. All I'm hoping for, though, is a clean one towards the end.
These drivers definitely want to take home a victory in this Triple Crown event with the prestige of it. The last time we had a Triple Crown race was at Pocono, and guess who won it? Your race leader in thrilling fashion in what was a 36-car field. It would be big for the Watchmen to get another win in a Triple Crown event. Yeah,
absolutely. It would be big for anybody to be able to get this win. We'll see if we're going to get a repeat winner, because we haven't had one so far. Sage Karam has the opportunity right now to become the first repeat winner of an Indy 250 race here in the Lionheart Retro Series. So we'll see. He's got 8 laps at the end of this one to go. I believe there's going to be one more lap under caution before we go green.
So it's looking like a 7-lap shootout. You mentioned you don't want to be the race leader in the final turn, coming down the front straightaway potentially with the runs from behind. How do you try and set this up to win this race then?
Well, with great difficulty, really. you're going to have to let some... There's going to be a bit of give and take here in the final 7 laps. You're going to have moments where you're going to be flying and you're going to be, leading. But you're also going to have to take your medicine and drop back a little bit as well. You've just got to have that patience to hold... and I think almost more important than being able to gain positions in this one, being able to hold position is very, very important. You want to be, as I mentioned, second or third coming out of that final turn, and then you've got a real chance at winning as long as you've got that straight line speed that we see most of these guys at the front do. So if you're second or third coming out of that final corner, then I think you've got a great chance of winning. But you've got to be able to hold that second or third place. It's quite easy to bomb down the inside into one of these corners and get through, but defending and holding on to a plate, letting one car through on one straight and getting them back on the next, holding a position in that way is more difficult. I think that's going to be more of a key to victory rather than actually passing, because passing at Indianapolis is just drafting basically, and we've seen almost all of, well, pretty much every single one of these guys in the field can do that, but not every one of these guys can hold position up towards the front, and that's what they need to do.
Keep in mind the point of no return for this race tonight. Approximately 4 laps to go. So that's something to very much keep in mind for this situation. Once again, your top 10: Mark Cohn, Chris Fowler, Sage Karam, Paul Jenkins, Matt Taylor, Mike Rasmus, Michael O'Brien, Nick DeGroot, Trevor Malone, and Ken Hacker. And already, the Watchmen going up to the top line, getting ready for the restart as the iRacing pace truck will duck off this time by. Seven laps to go in the ButtKicker Indy 250. Green flag waves, we're backing away. And a nice start from the Watchman as he dives to the inside, side by side for second position. Sage Karam trying to make it work on the high line.
Decent restart from Sage Karam, but not a good restart from a lot of those guys behind. It's very, very stretched out, and it looks like these front three are going to fight it out into turn 3.
Side by side as Fowler now gets the run down the back straight away. The Watchman trying to hold on to the bottom line though. Gets the better pull through turn 3. Fowler at 187 miles an hour coming out into the short chute. He ducks it back down to build up a run coming off of turn 4. 6 to go this time by.
Still closed up again. Jenkins is here. Taylor towing Rasmus and O'Brien here as they're 3 wide over the line very nearly. Sage Karam not able to get through at the moment. I don't know if he let off there or whether he actually couldn't get through in a straight line.
Matt Taylor trying to carve his way on through, get himself past Paul Jenkins, loses some time in a side-by-side. That's going to allow Mike Rasmus to close up right on behind him as well. You see Ricky Harden trying to cut his way to the pack as well from the back of the shot as they go side-by-side for the lead again.
Coming down the inside, it looks like he's going to get the lead off of Fowler again. Karam, excuse me. Stays behind once again. He's just watching on these two, but he's got to be careful. He's got to hold position. What I mentioned earlier, he's got to hold off the likes of Jenkins and Rasmus. Here he goes to the inside for the lead.
5 laps to go. Jenkins now to the high line. Karam trying to time up his run from 3rd position. A little bit close in the short chute. Near contact is now Mike Rasmus now trying to jump by the AeroX machine.
How many cars are involved? There's so many cars in contention for this race win. It was stretched out on the restart, but it's very packed up now. Cone down the inside, and this is an absolute carbon copy of what happened 1 lap ago. He takes the lead again.
Marcone looking like he wants to defend by hugging the bottom of the racetrack. He squeezes up to the middle now. Fowler, can he get himself fully clear? No. That time by, led by about 17 one-thousandths of a second, as Cone takes the lead into turn 1 once again.
4 laps to go as we complete this one. That, by the way, we have reached the point of no return. A caution would end the race at this stage.
Very critical to make clean moves. Michael O'Brien thinking about an aggressive move we've seen. Mike Rasmus with the block going on for a top 5 position. All while Cone continues to hold on to the point.
Side by side still, Karam is just waiting, so patient from Karam at the moment. He's just holding off and maybe unleashing a real run right at the very end. Is it going to be now maybe into turn 1? Looks like he defends from those behind, but he stays behind at the front too even still.
2 to go this time by. Karam now dropping back, looking like he may be resetting as a couple cars slid up towards the wall in the back of the pack.
Anzaldo was in the wall. It was Anzaldo who touched the wall, and he's dropping back outside the top 15.
3 wide as look who's charging his way through the pack. He was 13th just a couple laps ago. It was Ricky Harden, who's now made his way into the top 5. 2 to go this time. Harden's going for the top 3. Still side by side for the lead. Karam now goes for it 3 wide. Down the front straightaway. Harden goes to the top as they go back 2.
What a drive from Harden as well. He's been absolutely nowhere so far this race. We've not talked about him all day, and now he's here. Cone goes wide through turn 2. That could be a critical mistake from him, because now look at how many cars are behind him, ready to get through. 1.5 laps to go. It's all about timing your run to the flag.
Diving to the inside, the Watchman to retake the race lead. He slides up in front of Chris Fowler. Karam slides up in front of Harden. Paul Jenkins now takes a bit of a peek. Once again, coming to the white flag. Final lap coming up for the ButtKicker Indy 250. Mark Cone holding on to the lead, still in the bottom of the racetrack. Karam trying to get himself clear for 3rd as Ricky Harden keeps the pressure up. With the swerve now is Cone. Karam tries to swerve around 2. Ricky Harden dives back up high. He tries to take the peak. Karam gets squished. Harden with the pass for 3rd. Fowler and Cone side by side in the final corner. Who will get to the stripe first? 3 wide as here comes Harden to the bottom. Contact!
Oh, no.
Harden spins at the line of drag race. It's Mark Cone by 5 1/1000ths of a second. He wins the ButtKicker Indy 250.
Unbelievable. That a massive crash over the line. Harden, such a shame to see him outside of the top 10 at the end. I thought he was going to win it coming out of the final corner, but Karam just had nowhere to go in the end. He was stuck behind a 3 wide moment and just couldn't get to the lead. In the end, it was a fantastic battle between Cone and Fowler. Fowler with the outside line just couldn't get the run that he needed, and Cone just about held on, but you just see Karam here. He ducks to the right-hand side trying to get through, but 3 wide in front of him tries to squeeze through a gap. It wasn't quite there. It causes a catastrophe. Oh my word, look at that. That's quite spectacular.
Wow.
Going down for it. I've never seen a crash quite like that. Going down towards turn 1, but there you are. A spectacular finish, and the closest ever finish we've had in the Lionheart Retro Series at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Here it is from the aerial view, by the way. Just enjoy this. It's like bowling balls at the bowling alley, isn't it? Unbelievable. But anyway, Cone takes a famous victory, and a very well-deserved one as well.
5 different winners in 5 seasons, and boy, does this top them all. Closest finish amongst those drivers in series history at this track. 5 1/1000ths of a second. The separation between Cone and Fowler to determine your race winner tonight for the ButtKicker Indy 250. This is your post-race results presented by Cardhawks. Sage Karam finished in 3rd, with Paul Jenkins and Ken Hacker rounding out your top 5, with Trevor Malone and Michael O'Brien in 6th and 7th. Matt Taylor finishes up behind Aaron Morgan, 8th and 9th. Nick DeGroot rounds out the top 10. A tough break for Ricky Harden. Hard in the wall is his nickname. Hard in the wall on the final lap down the final straightaway after making an improbable charge from 13th to the top 3 in the span of 7 laps. Mike Rasmus finishes in 12th, George Anzotto 13th, Adam Young, Lionel Kalisto, the top 15, Ron Hacker, Jean-Francois Matt, Chris Staples, Chris Reagan round out the lead lap cars, with Gubby Moore finishing in 20th, 7 laps down. Behind him, Chris Lanini, David Sirwa, 9 laps down, with DJ Clark and Ariel Alanis 23rd, 24th. Mike Rigney, Cale Bensi, Tyler Graff, Robert Mikes, Alex Guyon, and Cody Wenson round out the top 30. The rest of your starters, Richie Hearn, Craig Forsyth, and Gary Corley involved in early trouble that put them several laps down in this race. That brings us into our HyperX post-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of the premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com. Don't forget to use promo code LionHRT15 for 15% off orders. Let's head straight to HyperX Victory Lane, where the Watchman has done it again. Another Triple Crown race, another photo finish. Mark, how are you feeling after coming away with this close victory, the closest finish in the history of this event?
Oh my God, this was all I ever wanted, was to win a big league, just a big league race of any sort at Indianapolis. Today has been my whole life, and I can't believe it.
Talk us through those final laps, trying to set up the run and try and keep yourself in the race lead as you're in control of the field coming to the green and trying to hug the inside much of that final run.
Yeah, I just knew that if I didn't hug the inside, I was going to be forced 3 wide. And then I tried on the outside on Chris, but that just made it worse. So I was just hoping somehow, some way, I would be able to pull at the end. And that bump from Sage, I owe Sage Karen big time, because that's what got me through that. Otherwise, I don't think it would have happened. So thank you, Sage, and we won the Indy 250. Yes!
A big race and a big win for you tonight. Now, how do you try and carry this momentum forward in the next couple races is the big question.
Well, I think as many people know, I've cut my schedule back to part-time, just because trying to do a full season with everything I've had going on was just going to be too much. And we're just going to keep running ovals. We will be at Sonoma. That's my home track. I'm like 30 minutes from there. But we're just going to keep having fun. I will keep supporting the team, Graphics LC Motorsports. And we're going to be doing the best we can and hoping it pays off like tonight.
Congratulations on the victory tonight, Mark. A huge victory for you and your career.
Thank you so much. And I just want to take the time quickly to thank just everyone, whether it's the sponsors on my car, the teams, everyone that supported me through my entire sim racing career. This is the best moment of that right now. And thank you guys for the amazing coverage. And of course, Lionheart. Love being in this league. Best league ever.
Once again, that's Mark Cohn, your race winner, the Watchman, coming away with the big prize tonight and the victory here this evening. Chris Fowler came home in second tonight, and Chris, just 5 1/1000ths of a second short. How are you feeling?
Bummed. I mean, I wanted that win so bad. I haven't got an official win, and I really wanted that one so bad. I thought I had it. They just missed it. Sage gave him a bump at the end that just pushed him just past just enough. So Mark needs to send a nice little care package to Sage for that little bump for the win. But yeah, it's definitely, I've had a rough season this year and lots of bad luck. So I really needed that win to get some momentum. But even a second is just great. That was such a fun race.
It looked like that, especially with the back and forth in the second half of the runs and especially how things played out. What was kind of your approach overall for this race? Because it seemed, at least from up here, you wanted to try and be one of the main cars in charge of the pack.
Yeah, I thought for sure that we'd get split into packs, and I knew that I wanted to be in that top pack. So I just wanted to stay in the top 5 all night, whatever I had to do to get in the top 5. I got some huge runs. You get major runs coming out of 4, so I used those to my advantage to get up to the lead. I just wanted to stay right there in the top 5 all night, and I knew at the end I didn't want to be in the lead at the end, but that outside line was had so much momentum coming out. It just worked. Just missed it by that much, but yeah, just try to stay in the top 5, save a little bit of fuel, and lead some laps. Just be up there for a chance at the end.
Now, you came into tonight in the middle of the point standings, around 18th position. How do you look to carry this momentum forward from this close finish off to a track like Sonoma?
Man, Sonoma's probably one of the toughest tracks we got on the schedule. It's a fun race in this car. Just try to carry a lot of this momentum and get some good practice laps in this week and see if we can't move forward. And I've been decent on roads this year in the Retro, so see if we can't just keep going and keep carrying that momentum forward. I gotta thank Donate Life and the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation for partnering with me this year. It's really special to have them on board. And George and Lionheart, HyperX, everybody that puts this on. It's just a great opportunity to be here, and I'm thankful to be here.
Congratulations on the second place tonight, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris Fowler coming home in second. Third spot went to last year's race winner, Sage Karam. And just second time he hasn't taken the checker flag in a start in this series this season. Sage, talk us through the final lap as it looked crazy.
Yeah, it was. I knew third was the place to be, to come off 4 and be able to get the draft. And I did it like a lot of times in the race and testing, where was the best spot to be. And it seemed like it was third place coming off of 4. You were able to get the draft and get to the lead. So I was doing everything I could to stay in third going into the last lap, just praying there wasn't going to be a yellow with like 2 or 3 to go to end the race. And I ended up getting a bit of understeer going into 3. I had a car on the outside of me, so right then and there I knew my chances of winning went down quite significantly. And then I came on the front straight, and those guys, they left like a hole, so I was like, all right, I'm going to kind of go through the hole, and then it closed quite quickly when I tried to go through it. So ended up having contact with Mark, and I think I pushed him to the win. So I mean, that's cool. I mean, he's the watchman, so maybe he'll send me a watch or something. That'd be pretty nice.
It was definitely an intriguing final straightaway, to say the very least, but talk us through how your strategy was for tonight, because it seemed like you were content on just riding and being patient. One of the drivers who came up, Tower Craft, mentioned it was the matter of checkers versus chess.
Yeah, my strategy, I think, was spot on. I pretty much saved fuel right from the beginning. I could have led many laps. I just decided, I think fuel is more important than leading the most laps at this moment of the race, and saved a lot of fuel. And then I think we saw, after that last stop there, I had a really good last stop, and I basically had a 2-second lead. And when it was green, I was pulling away for those 2 laps, and I had Damon in my ear telling me, the last thing we need right now is a yellow. And then sure enough, the yellow came out the next lap, so he cursed me there. But I think if it stayed green, I think we would have been pretty well. But yeah, I mean, strategy was good. I just, like I said, I tried to do something. Usually I like to be leading, but I thought, with how big the draft is in these cars, you want to be third. And, just when you're in the middle of the pack there and you don't got all the air to the front wing and rear wing and stuff, you don't got all that grip, stuff can happen back there. So as much as I thought third would be the best spot to be coming to the last lap, and it may have been if I got through 3 a bit better, it ended up biting us. I just couldn't get it done on the last lap. Every other lap I would have been able to make the pass, but for the lead going to the finish line. But for some reason the last lap I just got a lot of understeer, and I don't know if that was because I had Ricky on the outside of me, and but I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I love retro. Retro is so awesome. You get races like this, these pack races, and you don't got in-car adjustments and stuff like that like we do in IndyCar, so there's no exploits and whatever. I mean, we saw Indy Qual this year. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on. So this is just driving, pure driving, having fun. I mean, this is like a go-kart race. This was so much fun, and third place, first place, 10th place, whatever, I'm having fun, and I love it, and it's a good points day for me.
Yes, indeed, especially coming into tonight as the points leader with a lot of momentum. Thank you very much for the time once again, Sage.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That's Sage Karam finishing third. Like to thank him, Chris Fowler, and Mark Cohn. Take the time to speak with us during the HyperX post-race show. Ewan, your thoughts on how things played out after what was a wild finish to this Triple Crown event, a second photo finish in a Triple Crown event this year, even closer than the last time by 2/1000ths of a second.
Yeah, and the closest ever Indy 250 finish as well, which is just fantastic. Yeah, I really enjoyed the race. It was clean and green at the start and then chaotic towards the end, a particularly chaotic finish. You sort of seen that slow-mo, by the way, right at the very end as we were talking to Sage there. It was quite a thing to witness, but no, a great victory in the end for Mark Cohn, and yeah, it was great to see him so pleased as well, because he really deserved that one, and you can tell that he'd been building up to that one for a very long time. He'd been wanting that victory for a long time, and it's great to see that he was so deserving of it, and so pleased with it, of course, as well. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed that race. It was fantastic from start to finish, a great ending, and I very much look forward to watching the rest of this season, starting with Sonoma in a couple of weeks' time.
That's going to be a very intriguing race, absolutely, but we'd like to take the time to thank the sponsors for the Lionheart Racing Series. Sim Experience. The Sim Experience AccuForce Pro V2 is the premier professional simulation racing steering system. Key to its incredible realism is the groundbreaking direct drive motor control system, providing a driving experience that's second only to the real thing. For more information on the entire Sim Experience ecosystem, visit simexperience.com. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of the premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on the HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com. And don't forget to use the promo code LINEHRT15 for 15% off orders. For sim racers, the ButtKicker Gamer 2 or Simulation Kit adds the missing driver to car connection, bringing more realism to your sessions. By accurately responding to in-game audio, you can feel the track like never before, providing increased vehicle handling and faster lap times. Are you ready for the most immersive experience in sim racing? For more information, visit thebuttkicker.com. Don't forget to use the promo code LION2021 for 20% off orders. Minus 273 is the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of breathable polyol spandex. Whether you're a kart or sim racer, Minus 273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on Minus 273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit minus273.biz. Don't forget to also use Minus 273 LHRS15 for 15% off orders. Looking for entertaining sim racing content? Look no further than the DMLC Racing Channel. Former Lionheart Retro Series Drop of the Year Mark Cohn is racing escapades as he battles for wins and avoids wrecks with cat-like reflexes, all while providing commentary sure to make you laugh, cry, or both. Follow along by subscribing to the DMLC Racing Channel on YouTube and like his Facebook page at the DMLC Racing Channel. And it's not just those 5 names, but so many more and all the partners at the Lionheart Racing Series. To learn more about them, visit LionheartRacingSeries.com and also find out more information on the 3 competitions that the Lionheart sanctioning body runs on a week-to-week basis. Lots more Lionheart competition to come. To follow along with the action, be sure to keep up with Lionheart on social media at Lionheart Series. ESTV has all your esports needs as well on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, while RaceSpot has your V Motorsports action covered. Be sure to follow along on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and more. After what was an incredible race tonight and an incredible finish at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, these drivers are now getting ready for the IndyCar Series to buckle on down for the HyperX Indianapolis 500. The question is, who will come away with that victory? Find out this Sunday afternoon. Be sure to tune in on RaceSpotTV and ESTV. But once again, I'd like to congratulate Mark Cohn on your victory today in the ButtKicker Indy 250 in the Lionheart Retro Series. For producer Arjuna Kankipati, for Istvan Bawu, for once again my co-announcer for tonight, and Newton O'Leary, I'm Justin Prince, saying so long, enjoy the rest of your evening.